Is the Ninoy Aquino International Airport that serves Manila the worst in the world? Well, you might have heard that, but I honestly don't think so. Although, it seems like it just keeps trying to be. I've been in and out of this place dozens of times in the last decade. Let's start with the layout. There are 4 passenger terminals. Terminal 4 is the smallest, and it typically serves domestic routes. AirAsia, Cebu Pacific, Air Swift, and smaller domestic charter carriers fly in and out of T4. There are no jetways here. You walk outside at boarding time to a bus, and then get out on the tarmac to queue up for the boarding stairs. Terminals 1, 2, and 3 are all much bigger and have proper jetways. T1 and T2 are primarily for international flights, and T3 is generally a mix of international and domestic. So, there's nothing wrong with having multiple terminals at a huge national capital airport. And to be fair, renovations and upgrades to all 4 NAIA terminals have taken place over the years. But in most big airports all over the world, if you need to go from one terminal to the other, you just hop on the escalator to go down to the basement, and then catch the subway train that runs continuously in a loop between all of the terminals. You can normally get to any other terminal in less than 4 minutes. The first problem at NAIA is that they don't have a subway train to connect all the terminals. That's right, my friends. If you want to go from one terminal to another, you have to drive there. And you're in Manila, a megalopolis with some of the worst traffic in the world. Fortunately, they do at least have a free shuttle bus service, which basically serves the same function as an airport subway system. And it connects all 4 terminals. I haven't taken that recently, but when I last did in 2016 and 2017, all I can tell you is it was cramped and hot. The facilities at NAIA are quite old, but I don't have a problem with that. In Bangkok, I prefer the old Don Mueang Airport to Suvarnabhumi, the new glitzier one. I just like old buildings that have a certain character to them as long as they are maintained, whether it's a hotel or a post office or an airport. I've never really had a serious problem in any of those 4 terminals, and have found the staff to be friendly and helpful, again, in my personal experience. But it seemingly hasn't gone so well for many others. Let's talk about that. Recently, many Filipinos and foreigners alike have posted some disturbing tales on social media. The story goes like this. You get off the plane tired and weary, get through immigration and customs with your bags, get to the hotel or your home for some much-needed rest. Big surprise when you open up the bag. But the thieves did leave one cheap bag of M&Ms for you. So nice of them. You can find this story of the Thai tourists who were apparently robbed by NAIA airport personnel. An unfortunate Filipina traveler was allegedly asked by an airline check-in counter agent to pay for overweight baggage directly by a transfer to the agent's personal bank account, not with the normal method of paying right there at the counter with card or cash. And if those tales weren't bad enough, the good old bullet scam pops up, goes away, and then pops up again when you least expect it. You can read about that from the Wikipedia link I've put in the description. It's fair to point out that the bullet scam was also infamous in Thailand and elsewhere. The problems we are discussing don't only happen at NAIA. Finally, we need to talk about the brownouts. When the power goes out at NAIA, they do have Jennies that kick in to provide the most basic illumination in the terminals, and comms radio and radar for the ATC controllers, and runway and taxiway illumination, and probably power for the skybridge motors too. But the power goes out more frequently at this airport than others in the country and around the world. And those Jennies can't power everything, like check-in counters. So chaos ensues. The PI media is respectably all over this, as they should be. And the politicians are starting to make big noise and put pressure on the airport administration. I hope it gets better. I really do. But I'm not flying into NAIA for the time being. We all have other options, although they often aren't as convenient for the travel schedule. Now, unlike Ninoy Aquino International Airport, the Cebu Mactan International Airport is newer. It's modern. Its architecture is beautiful. And it's a much better experience from the amenity standpoint. And yes, scams happen everywhere, especially with taxi touts and their off-the-meter pricing and that kind of thing. But in my own personal experience and in my following of news articles about both airports, there haven't been nearly as many reports of problems in Cebu compared to Manila. Also, AirAsia, Cebu Pacific, and some of the smaller charter airlines in the Philippines can take you from Cebu to just about anywhere else you want to go. The other nice thing about Cebu is that it's very close to Bohol, Alona Beach, the Chaco Hills, the cute little tarsiers and butterflies. You get the idea. It's close to the expat hotbed of Dumaguete and the awesome scuba diving in Dawin close to there. It's south of Manila, so it's closer to so many of the cool places tourists want to see in a limited time window. For Bohol and Duma, you can just hop on a fast boat from Cebu Pier 1 and be there in less than 3 hours for less than 1,000 pesos. And Cebu itself, as a big city, has a lot to offer and a different vibe than Manila. Here's a sample itinerary of a return flight booking into Cebu instead of Manila. I like to fly EVA Airways. They are based in Taiwan. But I like that the west coast of the U.S. to Manila or Cebu are very easy because EVA flights have a reasonably short layover time in Taipei, between 2.5 and 4 hours. And that's perfect, because if your plane is late getting into Taipei, you still have more of a chance to catch your next leg with that timing on the layover. And better yet, EVA personnel will escort you to the front of the line at security in Taipei if things get tight for you on a layover. However, even though you can book round trip from, say, Seattle to Manila or Seattle to Cebu, there is a problem on the return leg if you book to Cebu. The shortest layover in Taipei with EVA is 8+ hours. If you booked round trip to Manila instead, both the outbound and return layovers in Taipei are reasonable. So it's not an ideal option, but it can work if you get a hotel or pay for the airport lounge in Taipei on the way back with that long return layover. Another option is what I did on my last trip. I booked 2 one-way tickets rather than round trip. That was more expensive, but it let me fly into Cebu, hang out at Mactan Newtown for a couple days while I got over my jet lag, then go to Bohol from Pier 1 in Cebu to Tagbi for cheap, and then 3 weeks later when I had to fly home, I left from NAIA just to get the shorter Taipei layover. Other options are the fairly new airport in Panglao, the ever-expanding airport in Angeles City known as Clark, not that far from Manila by bus or car, and possibly Davao. I can tell you that at least 2 Korean budget airlines fly to Panglao and Bohol from Incheon in Seoul and possibly Jeju Island at certain times of the year, although not daily. And that the international connection options at Clark include flights from Thailand, Vietnam, Korea, and Japan. Finally, we also have to remember that what we hear on social media can be super messed up. And everyone should enjoy the right to be innocent until proven guilty in a court. And what about the untold millions of travelers who pass through NAIA every year like me with no problems at all? But the bullet scam is real. The power cuts and associated chaos at NAIA are real. The very small number of personnel there who have been suspended or fired and or prosecuted are real. I've never had a significant problem myself at NAIA, but it's always good travel advice to have a plan B just in case. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.